Isn't it time you took a break?
Oh, shit!
Vermin.
Hey, wait, what are you doing?
This is Silas Smith, head of the janitorial division over here. And, well, I think we should start off by thanking the men who came before us. Sylus was a good man, and it's a shame what happened earlier.
He's not dead!
But I'm here to pick up the slack and carry out this report on, what's her name again?
Well, Rosmontis was next.
Okay, Rosmontis. Rosmontis? All right, it is? Am I saying that right?
Yes,
I've done this before.
I know. Why are you
It is
doing it
Rosmontis.
now?
Okay. All right. We're going to be reading a little simplification over here on Rosmontis. So let's get down to it. The imaging tests have shown the outlines of some of her internal organs to be indistinct, due to the abnormal shadows. Originium granules have been detected in her circulatory system, and there are signs of oropathy infection. Now, see what I'm talking about? I can do this stuff too. It's easy. Look at that. Well, they said I'd never be a teacher. All right. Most currently known internal organization, crystallization, and originium hyperplasia originate from localized lesions caused by the accumulation of originium particles in the bloodstream. It says Touch's hypothesis is more or less on point. A particular subject can perhaps be called an infected, but hard to say this is oropathy. The infected organ located in her brainstem ain't natural. That's right, was an artificial implant. Having referenced Man, that's a hard word. Having referenced Ridian. Okay. Inspection report, we can say for certain that this device is unmistakably artificial in nature. Huh. If just like this particular subject, Spectre's infection was artificially induced, leaving aside the question of how Spectre's immune system is able to fight her originium infection so fiercely, the liquid originium density in Spectre's cerebrospinal fluid has already reached such a high level, her life's undeniably in danger. We had to resort to all kinds of measures just to prevent her situation getting any worse, as we naturally should do. Let's look at the experiment that was performed on this particular individual. One of the objectives of this experiment was to figure out how to contain the originium infection and the negative effects it produces. And they managed to pull it off, albeit only temporarily. From the project's inception, their plan was to create an individual who is not affected by oropathy, but is nonetheless an infected. A caster that doesn't need an arts unit. A master of originium arts who doesn't need to be trained in its theory. Her infected organs don't exacerbate the originium density in her body in any way. In a certain sense, this individual is as good as not infected, and that is darn good. All right. With her life function still in perfect order, should we really remove the artificial organ? The organ that lets her breathe and swallow and lets her blood flow normally? I'd say probably not. But let's make a note of that. I'm afraid we haven't met that requirement. No one has. This experiment's likely impossible to reproduce in short term, and we're supposed to reverse its results to return her body composition to normal. I don't know if you should. I mean, she's healthy. Hey, you guys do this kind of stuff all the time?
I don't know. I'm an intern.
The Logan water tank laboratory is in shambles. A shambles. In shambles?
Yes, in shambles.
Okay. The Logan water tank laboratory is a shambles. The little research data they had were all wiped out as well. We'll likely never know whether the data was destroyed or was successfully retrieved by the sponsor. The lab's actual proprietor would prefer to keep the news of the scandal under wraps. The technological companies looking to thrive in the wake of Logan's downfall are likely a dime a dozen. And who knows how many spies there are in the Colombian cities. I know, it's a lot. A lot. Logan Williams was a genius, but his ignorance and apathy led to the deaths of many, including his own in the very end. Poetic justice, no doubt. Sounds like street justice, you ask me. The Maylander Child Rights Protection Foundation's rescue of the individual from the laboratory ruins and their subsequent exfiltration from the country were the result of its board's careful deliberation. They were intent on keeping Loken's research results out of the hands of Colombian companies and interest groups. If the research conducted at Loken was allowed to continue to ferment, it would only result in further instability. This will not be tolerated. They will not allow it. They'd rather pretend it never happened in the first place. And I would too. I mean, honestly, that sounds awful. We don't need more of that stuff. Kids ought to be growing up, playing ball, having fun. In the end, the girl ended up under my care. The writer's care, not my care. I don't have a kid. Yet. Perhaps by fate, or perhaps because along with Loken's mentor, I was the one who ended Loken's life as an neuropathy researcher in Colombian academia. But we both knew it in our hearts that he wasn't going to be stopped by that. Was nowhere near close enough to stop someone who'd claim the lives of everyone who walks upon the land for his own benefit. Amen to that. With this, our cooperation with Maylander came to an end. This would be the final mission ever to be sanctioned by him and carried out in secret by us. This individual, the experimental subject, will forever disappear from Columbia's records. Man, those guys don't know what they're doing. You ask me, we ought to... Anyway, Maylander doesn't care if she lives or dies. What happens to her from here onwards is up to us. But what would her treatment, the removal of this artificial organ, entail? The damage this has on her system may be minimal. The device doesn't seem to have a replacement function. Never crossed their minds to implement such a thing. The device has already become a part of her. They turned her arts unit into her life source. Hot golly. I don't have the right to ask her to give up her own life. However, ethics is a matter between you and me, not Rhodes Island. Written by Dr. Cal Sitt. Well, I got a lot more respect for you now, Doc. That's a good maneuver. Glad to have you my boss. All right, next up we got an archive file here. Already put together a two-way comparison table, and she's exactly how she looks. Just a little feline girl. Isn't very much we can say about that, except she's probably adorable. However, her arts, well, we've stopped holding the tests indoors already, but the data we got from the test before it explains a lot. Explains you shouldn't have held them indoors. I guess it's not a good idea to talk theories here. I mean, I don't really understand these theories myself. The theoretical casters are always talking stuff about perception reversal and thought impetus. Seems to have to do with cognitive science and neurology, things I'm bound to never understand. I think you just made those up. All right, let's talk about her arts performance. Right, I mean, there's quite a lot that's classified, and this information is just here to give you the gist. Some of us have already started to call her arts her spiritual entity. After all, it's a very fitting and convenient way to describe it. Yeah, that's one way to describe it. Her arts can stretch out into a wide net that can detect movements of objects within the range. This here net covers a huge area, and most people are unaware of her touch. Her arts can also be used on just a single individual, like me. I suppose it's just like a big hand. I've tried asking her to keep her arts ranged to the smallest area possible, but even then she can only manage to shrink it down to a few square meters. Guessing that's because she's trying to grip her target. Aside from that, it doesn't seem she can use this power on the inside of her target. Why would you want to? Ugh. Oh, that's dangerous. Even when we gave her a transparent picture with its innards clearly visible, she couldn't make the picture burst from the inside. All she could do was squeeze it from the outside. This looks even more and more like a flexible, malleable, force-exerting entity. Looks more like somebody needs to have a few re-examinations of what they're doing out there. During the test process, still going by that hand and grip imagery, We surmise she's able to use at most 4 of these large, shapeless hands of hers when her concentration is at its peak. Seems the test results are measured based on her art's creativity and deep water testing. Both her speed and strength measurements go to show there's a tremendous power hiding in her arts. Yet we ain't able to detect any signs of her using arts before they break something. Huh. Invisible arts. Crazy, ain't it? Why just 4? Why are they all shapeless hands? Is that how she imagines them? Indeed, when we were examining the deformation of her target structures, we can't help but think that some of the bumps might be gaps between her fingers. And whenever there was a considerable temperature difference, she'd also seem to get frostbite or burns when she uses her arts. Neurally speaking, at least. Weren't any apparent symptoms. She'd just say it's cold or it hurts, and based on her cerebral cortex's activity, it's true. Voice in this recording's getting softer here. Huh. I can't hear it. Oh, it's a page. That'd be why. Sorry, my bad. I heard an explanation that's kind of out there, even scary. They say her brother's still inside her, living. And her arts are like her brother reaching out his hands, either hugging the land or pounding it with force. I have no idea who was the first person to say that, but it's unsettling. Recording of field reporter Castor KK. And that is one hell of an intimidating report, if you ask me. Hey, on the subject of intimidating, am I supposed to read this one too?
No!
It's just kind of shoved in there. Thing's a bit crumpled. Is that supposed to be in there?
Yes, it's in the file, but no, you're not supposed to read it. Please, my job's at stake here.
All right. Take your word for it. So, let me look this thing over. It's been a while since the patient Maylander sent us began her training. I have no idea if this is Calcit or Outcast's idea, but there's no doubt she got better thanks to this. She ain't like any other experimentation victims we've seen. They're either always screaming their lungs out or they've lost their ability to live and take care of themselves. They're always just curled up in their vessels, trembling. Huh. That ain't no way to live. First impressions, she's from a middle-class family, received a certain amount of education, but when her mental state's unstable, the destruction she wreaks on the ship sure is a terrifying sight to behold. She's afraid of laboratories, hates the medical equipment, and even though her equipment's already several times hardier than any normal armor, she's even managed to lift one up in the air and crush it into a ball about the size of a fist. Hey, how big's your fist? 'Cause mine's, pretty small. I don't think that's, how those are supposed to be. I suppose if it wasn't for Lagos, all of us would have been long dead several times over. Well, thank you, Lagos. Thank you. Glad to be alive and, well, reading this paper. But thanks to that, we now have a pretty good picture of the kind of life she's lived. Calcit's recently requested engineering to renovate some of the laboratories and rehab sick rooms. Also took the opportunity to replace some of the equipment in the testing facilities to give them a more comfortable and warmer feel. As you should. Now she doesn't make quite as much of a scene. Well, maybe because you're actually treating her like a human. That's good. Hell yeah. Trying to talk to her about what's right or wrong isn't going to do us much good. She's a very sensible kid to begin with. Demonstrates a kind of mental sickness not dissimilar to memory loss. Sometimes she even forgets her professional knowledge. Well, shucks. Nonetheless, we found that reinforcing her knowledge bit by bit is effective. Touch speculates that she hasn't actually forgotten anything, merely sealing her memories. I think this might have to do with the device in her brain, or perhaps as a result that she wanted, and her arts helped her achieve that. Yeah, that's not pleasant. Her arts definitely ain't simple as some kind of telekinesis. That past of hers tormenting her. And that's why she's trying to erase her memories. Hey, can you erase my memories of this stuff when I'm over? I'm getting the feeling I'm not supposed to be reading this.
But that's because you're not.
Is that a thing we can do?
Of course it isn't.
But she also isn't able to control the strong, unorderly emotions left over. It's a mess. Then she gets upset she's forgotten again, gets anxious and confused because of that. She gets distressed for not meeting our expectations, even though we'd be more than willing to cheer her up and cheer her on to help her. She still blames herself. Yeah, I know how that goes. I still blame myself for the spill on V-deck. At the very least, it's not possible for us to retrace her participation in the experiments. She's practically dug her entire brain out. It's a violent way to go about it, almost like she sealed herself away. Her amnesiac symptoms might not even be anything more than side effects of this behavior. Her cognitive ability is being exhausted by herself relentlessly. My guess is her artificial organ's using it up to deal with her ongoing stress. Hey, you think it'd be out of line for me to give this kid a hug? Seems like she's stressed.
Well, you would have to ask Miss Orchid first.
I'd be stressed too if I was dealing with that. I think she needs a recorder. I'll make her a terminal, one's easy to type on, that way she can go over her notes when she wants, dig up those scenes and dialogue she wants, and restore her emotions back to the truths in her head and reorganize them. Just like giving a movie its dialogue back. Well, she asked me why I wouldn't let her wear shoes in the room. As I explained the safety side of it, I also thought of borrowing a pair of shoes from Amia for her to wear when she leaves the cabin. Amia came over herself. She even brought with her a new pair of shoes. And, well, they were a perfect fit. The two kids are fast friends. Amia's been skilled at comforting her. I thought to myself, well, the writer, that is, not me. I don't think much. That was the moment the patient's life truly began, instead of some point in the past. There's still lots of mystery surrounding her, but what's any of that matter? Gal Sit said she'll put up a poll for the casters and medical elite operators after a while. I'm in engineering, so I'm not voting, but if I had a vote, I'd probably vote to let her stay on the island. If what she needs is someone to guide her through the stress, to teach her how to control her arts, then we're the right men for the job. We're the only men for the job. I'm going to say that. You know, hey, I'm head of janitorial. My vote's we stay. She's staying. Wait, she's already stayed?
These are past records.
Oh. Okay, so next up we got this archive file. Doesn't seem to be from anybody. Loken water tank isn't the source of the problem. Could have fooled me. When it all happened, Loken was likely under a lot of pressure. Otherwise, knowing his personality, he wouldn't have made such a gamble. I'm not trying to defend him, but by trying to dissect his actions, I might also be able to verify a few of my own viewpoints. My guess is he urgently needed some test results to support his hypothesis, either to get his hands on some resources, maintain his position, or preserve his project. Loken implanted this artificial organ in this particular subject only because his research had to do with the infected. If his research was in bionics, then no matter how many of her organs ended up getting replaced, the subject wouldn't even have the tiniest traces of orpathy. The subject and her brother were dragged in this mess only because they had a somewhat unique gift in originum arts. Their adoption, after their family was destroyed, their fraudulent guardian, the corrupt orphanage, all played a hand. I'm sorry, wait, what? Feel like I missed a step here. Huh. I won't rule out the possibility. Maylander's report clearly says Loken murdered her brother to fulfill the experiment's objectives. I see. That ain't right at all. Direct cause of the incident was that the consciousness he forcibly extracted from her brother activated the infected organ. Huh. Wow. That's a little heavy for this early in the day. Whether this is purely product of her imagination or is indeed just like what was reflected by the errors in the scans, it's eerie, I know, but her brother might still exist somewhere in her brain. She probably doesn't want to know about this yet. Stems from her subconscious refusal, or perhaps it's the wishes of her brother. Why they keep putting them in air quotes? I guess they're not air quotes. Those will be in the air. These are on the page. Excessive theoretical neuroscience interests me not. Such experiment was likely entirely profit-driven. Data tainted by blood. Kind of data that can only be used to back theories that support war and violence. And we don't need that. You're damn right we don't. We got enough of that. Enough of theories that support explosions as well. Getting sick of those. Loken water tank had been under the table for long. Son of a, there's another one. For long. The fact that a laboratory of its size was able to direct such I'm gonna have to clean that. Was able to direct such deep and inhumane crimes just shows how far down this road of privilege Columbia's scientific research has come. Man, that is rough, man. Glad I ain't there. Compared to Ursus and Sargon, Columbia's laws are no doubt more advanced and stringent. But how severe the law is has nothing to do with how many crimes have gone unpunished. It actually is both the ones who enforce the law and the ones who administer it being only people. A progressive society carries the burden of being even more civilized. Civilized my foot. That's how that fate befell her. Just simply because they needed her to be an infected, they wanted her to have those powers, being able to expand her arts casting by the way of compressing her consciousness. Perhaps it was, Voltekzinski. Man, can we get a better name for this? Can I get like a different one written down here? I mean, I guess that is his name, but I'm not going to pronounce that right. Or Ron Lab. Bit of a stretch. Could have also been pharmaceutical companies like Parasol or Tower Mountains, but in any case, don't matter who Loken Water Tank's benefactors were. Whoever they are, there's an even bigger disaster waiting for them sooner or later. Yeah. So, the vote's results. My guess is there's 2 votes against. Lagos agreed as well, didn't he? Not surprised. May think he doesn't care about anything other than Kesdale affairs, but if that was the case, he wouldn't have agreed to become an elite operator in the first place. It's just like those 2 to vote no. Pith was against it, and I suppose that's only natural. I'll persuade him. Of course, you guys practically forced this one on me, right? To touch, you guys voted yes. I also voted yes. I want that on record. I voted yes. You guys should be the ones to persuade him. I'm merely trying to speed things up. My reason for doing this? I was giving her a checkup this morning, and she asked me if I remembered what her name was. She wants to know what she used to be called. She's slowly trying to face her past, even if it's already ruined her once. Or perhaps she should get a new name. If our cities and our residents are truly more advanced than the bloodthirsty barbarians' ages past, then we must at least prove our personalities have improved. And they have. I mean, look at me. I can walk in here and read all this. It's great.
Oh, you can't.
The picture's awesome. Preventing science from being used to harm the innocent is also a responsibility of mine. Perhaps it's still too early to give her a name. She can come up with one herself, but we can give her a code name right now. I believe that by becoming an operator, her future, as well as that of the world itself, will become that much brighter. Now that all you agreed, I promise I'll teach her. She'll still become your family, your teammate. She can do it. In the old mythologies, there exists a miraculous plant that helps those who cannot face their memories to be brave and courageous. From here on out, her code name will be Rosmontis. Hey, that wasn't too hard at all. Man, I'm a natural at this stuff. You see that? Man, I got through it all. That wasn't very... Oh. Hey, there's an extra one. Hey, we must have missed this one. All right, this one's labeled Profile. Let's read this stuff. I'm an expert at this point, so shouldn't be anything a problem. Only a little bit here. Rhodes Island Elite Operator Rosmontis possesses a high aptitude for a rare form of originium arts, particularly adept at confronting large creatures, destroying hard objectives, immobilizing facilities under emergency, and putting a stop to small-scale skirmishes. She has been shown to possess a solid control of the battlefield and considerable tactical value in assault positional, and annihilation scenarios. Under Cal Sit's assignment, she is currently active as a core annihilation specialist. All other files pertaining to Rosmontis have been... Well, that's funny. They've been moved to the high clearance database. Hey, what does high clearance database mean again?
It's above both of our pay grades.
Oh. Well, this is a happy little accident. You know, I mean, this is fun. We've all learned a lot. I've learned about violating my clearance level, and you guys have learned about Rosmontis. Or, I guess we didn't learn anything new, but we categorized it. I'm gonna go back to cleaning. I think Torch has an explosion or two for me. Yeah, I love cleaning those.
Well, I guess that was Sylus Smith recording the... I'm gonna be in so much trouble.